What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Outlet Show. As always, I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. Not as always in Atlanta, but I'm here in Atlanta again today. But as always, I'm Joe Wagner alongside with my two amazing co hosts so far today, waiting on the third. And no, we're not waiting on Braden today. I have Brent Allegra and Braden Wilkins. How we doing today, boys?
Let's go. Let's go.
Doing
NFL
great.
frenzy.
I'm
I
excited
always
to actually
love the
be here for this one.
enthusiasm.
No technical difficulties this time, so we're thriving.
I want all the technical difficulties, though. That's what makes a show a show.
See if I can make that.
Anyways, welcome back. I have no idea where Chris is. This seems to be an ongoing theme. So, Brent, I need you to miss the next podcast, and then I'll miss the one after that, and you guys just run the show on your own, okay? Sound
I
good?
do.
All right, sounds great.
Absolutely.
Well, as you can see in the title, it's Return of the Frenzy. If you remember from our second season, maybe even our first season, actually, the NFL Frenzy is what we have today. But first, by special request of Brent Allegra, I'm going to let him talk about what happened on Independence Day, July 4th.
All right. So 4th of July, it's a tradition like no other. We have some great barbecues, some fireworks, but maybe the most important tradition, the hot dog eating contest. This year, surprisingly, Joey Chestnut took the victory again. Very surprising. I didn't expect it. I don't know about you guys. I didn't expect it. No, I'm just kidding. He wins every single year. He's awesome. He's incredible. But this year was a little bit more special. He didn't break the record. His previous record was 76 hot dogs. He actually did that last year, I believe. But like I said, he wins every single year. And this time, there was a protester that decided to jump up on the stage while he was eating, bumped into him. So Joey gets him in the chokehold and drags him off the stage. It's freaking awesome. If you haven't seen the video, I suggest you guys look it up because it is hilarious. I watched it over and over again. It's just great. It's great comedy, and we got to start talking about him as maybe the greatest athlete of all time.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because here's the next banner that I had planned. Is Joey Chestnut the GOAT of all sports?
He's definitely up there. I mean, if you consider eating contests as a sport, I would say yes. I would say yes, he is the GOAT. He has 15 titles. As you included in the doc, Nadal has 14. So he's passed the previous record holder for the most titles in any event. So I think he is the GOAT.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And it was either his 15th or 14th. That's over Nadal's 14th or 13th, which is Nadal's French Open. And actually, Nadal just hopped out of his latest competition because he's got an abdominal tear, excuse me. But when you define a sport, in my aspect, I think of two things: physical toll and competition. And eating contests are two of the biggest things that have those: the physical and mental toll that puts on your body. And then obviously it's a competition. Well, it's not a competition for Joey Chestnut, but it's a competition in general. So, Braden, what do you think? Is Joey Chestnut the greatest of all time?
He might be. He might be. He's definitely getting there. And like Brent said, if you consider it a sport, then yeah, he's got to be. He's got the most major titles out of any athlete. He's the GOAT of GOATs.
And it was streaming live on ESPN. So that's a sporting network.
That's
Over
true.
35,000 participants were in Coney Island watching this happen. So everyone wants to come see the GOAT. Even though he underperformed this year, there were two problems there. One, he was on one leg. And the second one is he had mid-eating a hot dog to choke somebody out.
It's so awesome.
His rhythm, but he still came out with the dub.
And speaking of Independence Day and like the joy of that day and the joy of everything that was ruined for a lot of sports bettors from this player prop that DraftKings, Underdog, Fanatics, everybody had for Joey Chestnut. DraftKings did something very classy afterwards. DraftKings returned all Joey Chestnut props after the protester incident and returned everybody's money, no matter if they won or not.
That's
Classy.
incredible. I didn't know about that. I didn't personally see the DraftKings prop. But I mean, yeah, he did, I guess, interfere with his eating. I thought it was hilarious, but I think if it does interfere with the sport in some way, then I guess there should be some sort of refund, especially for betting.
Which is in my perspective fantastic, because like his player prop was set at 73.5 and he ate 63 hot dogs. So even with that 10-second interval of problems,
Yeah.
like that wasn't going to affect his final score.
Yeah.
But DraftKings very classy for that, and all the other betting platforms followed suit as soon as the monster of DraftKings took over and did that themselves. So big shout out for them. So we're going to go ahead and transition into our frenzy unless anybody has anything else to say about the GOAT. We
Nope.
good?
We touched on
this is going to be a little improv more difficult than I first expected for us to roll with, but we're just going to have to split up Chris's assignments. Not the next one, because it was about to be his time for the best part of the podcast. I apologize to everybody. We'll try and fix that up later for you. But we're going to move into the AFC East. So sit back, relax, and enjoy everything we have to talk about football, because it's July, baby, and it's time to start talking fantasy. It's time to start talking standings. It's time to start talking everything football, boys. So I'm really excited. And I'll go ahead and actually kick us off here talking about the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills. So when I was talking about this with you guys the other day, I just wanted your overview of this team. I'll be starting with the Bills. How'd they finish last season? What are we expecting this upcoming season? Players we're looking at, stuff like that. Buffalo Bills, 11-6, obviously one of the greatest games we've ever seen in the entirety of my life. I actually watched in the Buffalo Wild Wings with Braden. They lost in overtime to the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round of the playoffs in what felt like a Super Bowl matchup between these two absolute dominant franchises. At the bottom for the AFC, you're going to be seeing the expected starters rolling up, colleges, season, and whatnot. But absolute dominant performance from Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes there. But here's what I'm sort of thinking of going into next season. So last season, they were 11-6. They obviously drafted the running back out of Georgia, James Cook. Sean McDermott, I wanted to get your sort of hot seat objective. His seat is as cool as ice. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. But my player to watch this upcoming year is the wide receiver number 2, 4 TD playoff baby, Gabriel Davis. In my opinion, the GOAT of Buffalo besides Josh Allen. I'm looking for him to explode at this number 2 without Emmanuel Sanders in the lineup, with Zay Jones being traded. Looking for him to just absolutely explode. And how does this team win the division? It's simple. Just keep winning and doing what you're doing. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You have one of the best wide receivers in the league. You have one of the best defenses in the league, especially adding Von Miller. Just keep winning, win your divisional matchups. This team's going 14-3 and winning the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely. I had them at 12-5, third in the AFC. Obviously, first in the AFC East. I don't think anyone can contend with them for that spot. And I personally have them winning the Super Bowl as well. Starting off hot with a great team, and I think Josh Allen gets it done this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have the Bills as my Super Bowl favorites as well. During the regular season, I'm going 13-4, first in the AFC. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough for the rest of this division to keep up, and even the rest of the AFC, honestly, even though it's so good.
Carson is asking, not asking, telling. He said Josh Allen should have gotten a chance on offense. I think everyone in the world agrees. Obviously, the new rule changes for overtime this upcoming year is going to help with that a little bit. But honestly, I would love to see them just take over college football's ideas for overtime. That would kill overs.
It would. Absolutely.
Yeah, they changed the playoff ruling for this season, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Rangers need to
Yes.
say the same.
Is
So
it for
he'll
the
definitely, if that were to happen again, he'll definitely get his chance for sure.
That'd be insane. Imagine that.
I
Yeah.
would hope so. I also just want them to get rid of ties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hate ties. One more thing about the Bills. Idea, what if they spray paint a buffalo and name it Bill?
That's
I'd be for it.
fantastic.
That's great. That's a great idea.
I'd love to see him run out on the field and break a table. That's
I mean,
that's Bill's Mafia for you, baby. It's Bill's
Or
Mafia all the way.
what if they get a guy named Bill, have him take off his shirt, and then spray paint a buffalo on his stomach? That'd also be a great idea.
that's perfect as well. That's awesome.
I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next team before this starts getting weird and we start saying some really stupid stuff. Braden, you have the New England Patriots, bud.
Yes. Last season, 10-7, just missed the playoffs. They looked pretty good. And coming into this season, I don't know if you saw this picture, but of Mac Jones looking absolutely ripped. Like comparing it to his pre-draft photo, he's huge. So I'm wondering if that's going to affect how he's throwing the ball, how many hits he can take. So yeah, I'm hoping to see some Mac Jones improvement, see him develop a little bit. And then moving on to the head coach situation. Obviously, Bill Belichick is never going to be on that seat. That's never going to happen. But I am wondering how much longer he has left in the league. He's getting up there in age, so I'm wondering how many good years of football he has left. And then looking at their roster, they have that same receiving trio, but they also added Devontae Parker on top of it. And then we're looking at their draft class was a little lackluster, in my opinion, so we'll see how they can play into it. Their top picks was Cole Strange, the offensive lineman, and he's prepped to start. So, and then in terms of winning the division, I think they need to do their jobs against the Dolphins and the Jets, which is going to be a little bit harder this season than it is normally. And they need the Bills to slip up. They just need the Bills to slip up and start losing games that they're supposed to be winning. And that's how they can win the division. And then they have to win those games as well.
Yeah, I'd agree
And
with that.
for my
Go ahead.
record, I'm predicting them to go 7-10, finishing 11th in the AFC.
Fair enough. Mac Jones has definitely got something to prove to a lot of people. So do the New England Patriots after getting whopped by 30 points to the Buffalo Bills. So yeah, that's the matchup. I agree with everything you said, Braden. Take care of the Dolphins, take care of the Jets, go 4-0 there, split with the Bills. That's your best chance. And then win the games you're supposed to. For the New England Patriots, I have them going 8-9, missing the playoffs. I don't really know where this organization is going, especially after Bill Belichick. But if Mac Jones can continue to perform and continue to evolve and continue to get big, that franchise could be looking up. Brent?
Yeah, pretty similar with you guys. I have the Patriots at 6-11 this upcoming year, 12th in the AFC, third in the AFC East, and obviously not a playoff spot with those numbers. You'll see a common theme when we talk about the AFC. It's that there's too many powerhouses, and I don't think the Patriots are one of those. So yes, they may be a decent team on paper, but I don't think they're going to be near as good to get it done and make the playoffs this year. And then I guess transitioning to the Dolphins, unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about with the Patriots. Okay. So last year's record, it's up on the screen there. 9-8, pretty good for the roster they had. I know they had a really long win streak there for a while with Brian Flores. It was kind of surprising they chose to fire him in the offseason, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Some newcomers, obviously Tyreek Hill. We could talk about him all day long. Difference maker on the offensive side of the ball. As well as Tyreek, they shored up that offensive line, got Connor Williams and Teron Armstead. They added Alec Ingold, fullback from the Raiders. And then their running back core, they did a complete overhaul on the running backs, added Chase Edmonds, Sony Michel, and Raheem Mostert. So trying to figure out that backfield is a mess, especially for fantasy. Added new backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, and then got some depth at wide receiver in Cedric Wilson and Trent Sherfield. Their new coach, as mentioned previously, Brian Flores, got fired for Mike McDaniel, the former 49ers offensive coordinator. I look for McDaniel to use Tyreek, Waddle, and even Chase Edmonds in creative passing and rushing schemes as he did in San Fran. And my in-depth analysis for this team is I believe it's a weird scenario where the team made a lot of improvements, especially on the offensive end, but the AFC as a whole is just too stacked, as I mentioned before. If the playoffs included 10 teams, the Dolphins would be an easy pick to make it. But with it only being 7, I think they're just outside of that potential. And this team can only win the division if Josh Allen gets injured and Tua becomes a quarterback that can sustain the playmakers around him. So for that reason, I have them at 9-8, just like last year, but 10th in the AFC, second in the AFC East, and no playoffs, obviously.
I was not as generous with the Miami Dolphins. I hated the firing of Brian Flores. Absolutely hated it. I think it was terrible for the franchise. He was going up in the world. Tua Tagovailoa, in my opinion, is the worst quarterback in the league. It's his last final year to hit that mark, and I just see a full Tyreek explosion. Tyreek is the fastest SOB in the league. There's no doubt about it. And if you can't hit him in stride, and Tua struggled with Jalen Waddle hitting him in stride, that's going to be an issue. So I have the Dolphins at 5-12.
All right, Braden.
All right. I agree with Brandon. I agree with Brandon. If there was 10 teams making playoffs, I do have the Dolphins in it. I have them 8-9, which is 10th in the AFC, second in the AFC East. But yeah, I think it all depends on Tua for me. The rest of the roster looks pretty great. So it depends on Tua and the new head coaching. If that's good enough, then it can succeed, but I don't think they can make the playoffs this year.
All out on the Dolphins. You know what's better than talking about 3 teams, guys? Talking about 4 and adding a 4th person to the podcast.
Howdy.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, just hanging around.
Fashionably late. It's cool, man.
No,
Blake
fashionably
didn't even
early,
show up
actually.
last time.
Yeah, so I'm just doing a better job already.
All right, Brent, I need you to be 45 minutes late next podcast. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right,
I was 15.
Chris, it's actually your turn to talk about the New York Jets, buddy. Great timing.
Jets, baby. Well, I mean, the Jets are going to be the Jets again this year. They have the 3rd hardest strength of schedule in the league right now, and coming from an abysmal team that they are right now, doesn't look good for them at all. Their tight end CJ, I mean, a great tight end. I think it's his 8th season in the league. But I mean, their quarterback production out of Pretty Boy from BYU is not going to be good. The Jets are going to have another abysmal year. I'm predicting a 3-15 record, right?
No,
Am I doing the math right?
You're right.
3-14, sorry. I'm predicting a 3-14 record. Just nothing good coming out of it. Obviously, not making the playoffs. And the AFC East, again, this year will not be kind to the Jets. So I don't see a bright future in the Jets right now. And so there's really not much to talk about them per se. I mean, they're kind of, after the whole Adam Gase incident and everything else, they've kind of just been a burning dumpster fire.
Well, I will say one thing to that. The Jets for so long have been the team that starts low, goes lower. You think they can't go lower? They hit rock bottom. They go through rock bottom to bedrock. They blast through the bedrock, hire Adam Gase, and they go further down the bedrock. But if I have to say one thing,
don't get me wrong,
Robert,
they're not as bad as they were 3 years ago. 3 years ago, they were a lot worse. I think we can see that. I see a little progression getting on them, but this year's not their year. We're not calling it a Cinderella story. We're calling it still a recovering dumpster fire.
I agree with that. And at the same point, I'm going to say this again. The New York Jets had the best draft in the league.
No,
the
100%.
New York Jets have so much raw talent coming in this season their only issue is at quarterback. Garrett Wilson's going to be playing great this year. Huge pickup. Brees Hall expected to have huge minutes. Max Mitchell is expected to be the second stringer at right tackle. Obviously,
Like
on
the Jets have a
defensive
bright future.
side,
The Jets have a great future ahead of them after what they draft, but it's the future. We're in the present right now, and the present for them and their development is not where they need to be. Under Zach Wilson, I mean, it's you have an untested quarterback that's still not. You don't know if that's going to be your guy, and so I think we have a lot to see out of the Jets. But for right now, I just see them kind of just playing abysmal football this year.
I'm really excited to see Jermaine Johnson and Sauce Gardner, though, on the other side, too. So this team is rising, but Zach Wilson will never, ever be a franchise quarterback.
He's not looking like it right now, no.
So 4-13.
I have the Jets at 6-11. I do think they made a lot of improvements this offseason, especially in the draft. We already touched on that a lot. But the Jets are going to be a team I personally am going to root for. I like the additions they made. I like Elijah Moore pairing up with Garrett Wilson. I think that's a very underrated receiving duo.
Don't forget Corey Davis, bro.
I know, and I'm not even talking about Corey Davis. Corey Davis is also great. And Braxton Berrios, too. They still have him. So I love those receivers. I hope that they do a lot better than they did last season because, like I said, I'm going to be rooting for them for sure.
They have Denzel Mims, too, don't they?
Yeah, but he hasn't been performing to his potential.
That wide receiver room is so young.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And I'm gonna agree with Brendan here. I'm gonna be a little bit more generous to him. I think that these improvements they will show. I think they're gonna win 7 games. They're gonna go 7-10. They're still gonna be last in the AFC East, but I think they're gonna improve. They're gonna win some games, and they're not gonna be absolutely abysmal. They're not gonna be great, but they're not gonna be abysmal.
Agreed.
And since you just on that, it's actually your time to go ahead and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals.
Such a fun team to talk about. Last year, the Bengals went 7, and this season, I don't know how likely that is for them. It's hard to do it every year, but I think they have a good shot. They're such a good team. They have a top 3 receiving duo in the league with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and they arguably have the best trio in the league with Tyler Boyd. They have a much improved offensive line. It's now ranked 8th, top 10 in the league according to PFF. So they went from one of the worst O-lines in the league to top 10. And we saw how Joe Burrow played with a bad offensive line. Imagine how he can play with a much improved, good offensive line. So Zach Taylor's not in the hot seat. He just brought his team to the Super Bowl. He's doing good. And to win this division, they just got to win the games they should. If they split the division, which they will likely do better than that. If they split the division and win the games that they should win, they will win the division. So I have them going 12-5, second in the AFC.
Nice. I completely agree with what you said, Braden. With the whole line thing, I'm very scared to see what Joey Ice does to defenses this year when he has 3 seconds in the pocket and not 0.3 seconds in the pocket. So that could be scary. And, of course, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. It's not fair. It's not fair to teams. I have the Bengals at 12-5, third in the AFC, and think they're going to win the division back-to-back for the first time in God knows how long.
Yeah.
I have them going – what do you got, Brett?
Go for it.
I was going to say I'm going 14-3.
Whoa.
I think the Bengals are going to be one of the best teams in the league this year, going second in the AFC, winning their division, of course, and making another Super Bowl run. And I think they will win the Super Bowl this year. They are my AFC team, Super Bowl team.
Nice.
I like it. I'm high on them just like you guys. I have them at 12-5, first in the AFC, first in the AFC North. But I do have them losing in the AFC Championship, as mentioned before, to the Bills.
That would be a great matchup.
I know.
Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. You know how many people that would stream on?
When it happens, don't at me. Don't at me.
If it does happen, I think you'd want to be added. With that, we're going to move to Chris. You have the pleasure of talking about Lamar Jackson's poops.
The Baltimore Ravens. Oh, God. The Ravens last year had, I would say, an abysmal year, a subpar year. I think we can all agree they didn't live up to their best potential with Lamar and Hollywood Brown. But, I'm going to have them doing a little bit better this year, second in the AFC North behind, obviously, the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm going to have them winning 10 games this year. You have Lamar. Some will say he's, kind of over – the hype is now overreached for him where, the ceiling is kind of hit for him. We've seen a little regression, but Lamar Jackson's still a heck of a quarterback. He gets things done, a nice, excellent running quarterback, gets out of the pocket and just goes. So I think Rams fans just have something to be excited about. I think they're not, anywhere near division winning, Super Bowl winning just yet. They have a lot of pieces. And, they have some pretty tough non-division opponents with the Bills, the Broncos, the Bucks, three teams that we just saw add to the roster this year and had great success. And so the abysmal, 10-7 year is, pretty predictable for them. They have great targets. They're a solid team all around. I don't really see any big holes or issues with the team going forward. They had a pretty subpar draft, but I just don't think that they have enough manpower under Harbaugh to go to the Super Bowl. And that's why I have them missing the playoffs, but winning 10 games.
Fair enough. Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens went 8-9 last year, obviously last in the AFC North. A decent division, though, so being last in that division at 8-9 is not too surprising. Obviously not exactly what they wanted last year. Lamar Jackson does need to step up his game. He's entering his fifth season. Fifth season is where a ton of quarterbacks hit that veteran mark and start being leaders in the locker room and start just in that presence going up and up and up. But Baltimore Ravens for me, I also have them at 10-7, Chris, in a difficult division again this year. And I actually have them taking that new number 7 spot in the AFC. It's always going to be new to me, that number 7 spot for the wild card. And I have them taking the last spot in the AFC this year.
Yeah, just like you guys, I'm pretty high on them based on last season, but I'm actually a little bit higher than you guys. I have them at 12-5. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the AFC. I'm a believer in Lamar Jackson. I love his game. I love his rushing ability, and I think he's a better passer than people give him credit for. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are going to be back. That rushing duo is going to be excellent for them. They're finally going to get that rushing attack back, and they made a lot of improvements on the defensive side of the ball as well. I have them 5th in the AFC, 2nd in the AFC North, and then I think they lose in the AFC divisional round this year.
Yeah, I'm with y'all there. I have them improving this season. I have them going 11-6, which is going to be 5th in the AFC. The only thing I'm worried about is that receiver group. It's not amazing by any means. It's pretty below average, but they do have Mark Andrews, who is top 3 tight end in the league. So I think he's going to have some targets to throw to, and J.K. Dobbins is pretty elite. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, that definitely is a bare wide receiver room. But he doesn't throw the ball anyway, so we'll be okay. Brent, you want to go ahead and talk about black and yellow?
Yeah. Last year's record, it's on the screen there. 9-7-1 for the Steelers. This upcoming year, I'm not as optimistic. I think they're going to struggle a lot. They're going to have a quarterback battle. Well, maybe a battle. I think they're going to hand the job to Kenny Pickett, which I don't think is a great idea. I like Mitch Trubisky more than a lot of other people do, and I think it would be a mistake just giving the reins straight to Kenny Pickett. I believe Mitch can lead the team to mediocrity, but that won't be good enough for the fan base. And when they transition to Kenny Pickett, the offense isn't going to be able to put enough points despite having a good defense. They did get some newcomers, Miles Jack being at the top of that list. Obviously, an excellent linebacker out of Jacksonville. They added Gunnar Olszewski from the Patriots, who's a great kick returner and punt returner. and then they added some pieces on the offensive line as well. Like I said, I think they're going to have one of the better defenses, but the offense is going to be too lackluster compared to the other AFC teams. And the offensive line is still nowhere near perfect. And it's kind of a hot take, but I believe they have the worst roster in the entire division. The Steelers can win the division if Mitch starts week 1 and stays hot throughout the season. You have to go back all the way to 2016 to find a rookie quarterback that started at least 10 games and made the playoffs. That was none other than Dak Prescott. And before that, there were 2 in 2012, Russell Wilson and RG3.
Oh no, R.I.P. Yeah, well, I can go ahead and go next with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm a little bit more optimistic. Actually, watching Kenny Pickett play this year in Lane Stadium and watching him the entire year. Kenny Pickett, I do believe, is going to start week 1. That's just the Pittsburgh organization. You don't draft a guy in the first round, don't start him. But here's the difference: is everybody has known the Pittsburgh Steelers for so long. They've known Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Troy Polamalu, that entire lineup. This is the first year, I swear, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a huge question mark. They don't have Ben Roethlisberger, which is the least mobile quarterback in the league. And now you're transitioning to a Kenny Pickett, who's the ACC Male Athlete of the Year. Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, they both have legs, they both can move. Teams are not used to that, and that's going to fluster the AFC North a little bit, I believe, especially because some of these defensive rosters, the Steelers have the best in the division. Like, no doubt about it. I'm a little more optimistic. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. That will continue 9-8.
Ooh. Well, I'm going to go almost on the complete opposite scale of what you just said, Joe. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are heading towards an abysmal season, per se. I have them going 6-11. I have them going 6-11, starting Mitch Trubisky up until week 4, and then moving to Kenny Pickett after Mitch Trubisky throws 12 interceptions in the first 4 games.
Holy shit.
I think the Steelers are going to be a laughing stock. It's going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season, and then after the year, Mike Tomlin will retire because he realizes how bad this roster is.
This organization's burning.
Honestly, the organization's burning right now. They are in a dumpster fire at quarterback. Instead of, pleasing the Browns to trade for Baker, they just decided to say, nah, we're good. We have 2 abysmal quarterbacks. I don't think Kenny Pickett is good. I think Kenny Pickett is a bust. He is my bust this year at quarterback, but they have no better option because Mitch Trubisky is actually an awful quarterback and will be cut from the team.
Chris with the hot takes.
Wow.
Absolutely burned.
He's also said
look
it
over
like 10 times.
Yeah.
That was great.
I'm gonna go over here in the comments and agree with Carson. Carson says Mitch was never given a fair shot. He had Matt Nagy. He's his coach, and that's fair.
He was on the Bills roster.
And
Look, as soon as he left the Bills started winning games.
What?
no.
He was the backup on the Bills. He never saw the field.
Yeah, he was under Josh Allen. He's not going to start.
Exactly.
But
he was under
I'm
Josh
gonna
Allen. He was awful.
How much
Awful.
Joe-
It's like starting Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. How did that work out for them?
It's been working fine.
They're like subpar. They're like
He was a top 5 quarterback last year.
I don't know how.
His numbers were nuts. That says a lot about Washington organization.
I'm not saying Washington was a good organization. It's a dumpster fire still.
We'll get to that. Braden, continue.
Yeah, the Steelers are going 9-8. That's 9th in the AFC. They're going to miss the playoffs, but Mike Tomlin's going to stay perfect in terms of winning seasons.
Does
So
he
we
retire
had-
after this year?
We had 2 9-8s. We had Brent with a reasonable thing, and then Chris is saying this place is burning to all heck. Interesting.
I was
Chris,
right about.
may I ask, what's your problem with rookie quarterbacks that come out of the ACC? First Trevor Lawrence, now Kenny Pickett. What's the problem?
And look, Trevor Lawrence is a bus, baby. Trevor Lawrence is already on the bus train.
anybody's going to be a
Choo
bust with
choo.
Urban Meyer as their coach.
Choo choo. Yeah, he got on the train. He can't get off now. He's set for abysmalness.
Oh my
That's
God.
11.
I'm going to this team, and I purposely didn't give Chris this team because I didn't want to hear him go on a ramble. Last year they went 8-9. They went 3-3 in division play. I do have a QB battle here. Watson versus NFL is the QB battle of the season. Besides that, Jacoby Brissett's gonna have the week 1 job. Should have the week 1 job. That's all I'm gonna say about this to stay politically out of it. Joshua Dobbs is up next if something happens to Brissett and Watson is suspended. Coach Hot Seat Kevin Stefanski is a mild sauce on the Buffalo wing scale. He's not completely cool, but a few losing season here, losing season next year, he's out. And then newcomers Amari Cooper is not going to have great quarterback consistency play all year, so I'm not sure what he's going to do. They did draft David Bell out of Purdue, the wide receiver. He's extremely quick. And the Cleveland Browns, how the heck does this team win the division? They win low-scoring affairs and capitalize on other teams' mistakes. I feel that's pretty general, but I can't see how this team wins the division.
Yeah. I feel
8-9 is my record.
8-9. I feel like for Deshaun Watson, I feel like no news right now is kind of good news for his front. They were talking all this past week about how long the suspension should be. Multiple seasons, 1 season, they don't know, and they haven't come to a decision yet. So I believe that that's in favor of Deshaun Watson. I don't think it's going to be a full season, which is going to be kind of sad considering Calvin Ridley got a full season for sports betting on one.
It makes no sense. It
doesn't make sense. I think the suspension is going to be more like 8 games, somewhere in that range. But I have the Browns going 8-9, just like Joe. Because like I've been saying this whole time, the AFC is just too good. Even if Deshaun Watson played the full season, I still don't think they make the playoffs. I have them 11th in the 11th in the AFC and 3rd in the AFC North.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that. I have them going 7-10. I like Jacoby Brissett more than a lot of people think. I think he's a really solid backup, but he's not a full-time starter. He's not good enough to do that, but he's a really solid backup. But yeah, the Browns going 7-10.
Chris.
It pains me not to be like, I really want them to go 0-17, honestly. The organization has done Baker dirty. They picked up a quarterback, gave him the most guaranteed contract out of any NFL player for what? For a man that is giving your team bad press right now. For a man that you don't even know if he's going to be suspended 3 games, 6 games, 9 games, a full season, multiple seasons. Honestly, Deshaun Watson should be suspended for the rest of his career. He should never touch a football field again. But that's not common. That's not what's going to happen. He's going to be suspended 6 games. They're going to give him a 6-game slap on the wrist, and then he's going to go out as the week 7 quarterback. They're going to have I wish I could say they're going to lose, but they're going to go 7-10. They're going to have a kind of subpar year. Obviously, Nick Chubb is a phenomenal player. Amari Cooper, they can get the job done. They will win 7 games. More of the story is they're going to miss the playoffs. I mean, trading Baker gave them the best shot at making the playoffs. I think Baker is a phenomenal quarterback. I love the way he plays. I love his playing style. He brings passion to the game, and I'm happy that Carolina picked him up. And so I feel after this, the Browns organization is making the mistakes they did when they went 0-16. So 7-10, missing the playoffs, and the Browns organization lost all the respect I had for them coming up to this season. So I'm not looking forward to watching them win any games, and I'm looking forward to Baker Mayfield destroying them week 1 as a Carolina Panthers starting quarterback.
I have never, ever loved more what Chris has said on the show. Not just because he's talking about the Carolina Panthers or Baker Mayfield, but you hit the nail on the head and then drilled it through the effing wall. Chris, that was a phenomenal take, and I don't think anybody else needs to speak about the Cleveland Browns for the rest of the year.
Dog pound, baby.
I'm honestly in awe right now. I'm not even kidding. With that, Chris, you have the Tennessee Titans, so go ahead.
Oh, what a team. We saw a great divisional battle last year versus the Bengals. They, you could almost say they choked, especially in the playoffs, especially that game. They were looking really good, really hot, looking like definitely easily the Super Bowl winner. And then kind of in that divisional game, they choked versus the Browns. Some would say we have a quarterback battle between, Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. I don't think Malik Willis has a shot right now. I think Malik Willis is a very untested quarterback coming out of Liberty, playing only an independent schedule, not really playing rivals, not really playing, divisional game, highly contested, highly, publicized games. So just him coming with that inexperience does not set him up for, success. But obviously they have Derrick Henry in the backfield. So you're going to have him, if he's healthy, rushing 200-300-yard games, probably breaking the NFL rushing record this year if he stays healthy all year. And I have them going 12-5 again. I think they'll do just about what they did, kind of is that team that's just kind of there at this point. Mike Vrabel, he really needs to have a good year. He really needs to go deep in the playoffs to continue coaching this team, or they will look on to move on from him to give that team that life that they need to hopefully make a Super Bowl run. So Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, Tennessee Titans, I agree with a lot of what you said, Chris. Braden knows especially how much I hate Mike Vrabel. I can never tell you why. I just hate him as a coach. Maybe it's just because Tennessee is so average and so one and dones every year. I have the Titans at 10-7, still winning the AFC South. Obviously, the last seed in the divisional round, but it's just Ryan Tannehill's such a question mark for me. He always has been. He always will be. Malik Willis
he's a question mark, but I don't think Malik Willis is the answer right now.
I agree.
I don't think
Malik Willis.
I think he needs the time to develop because obviously he doesn't have the experience, and he needs that experience for him to develop, for him to do well in the league, and that's where the issue comes along.
It's going to be difficult for him to develop when Ryan Tannehill wants nothing to do with him.
Well, and I think they did him dirty with just not even telling. If I was the starting quarterback for a team, I want my team to come up to me and be like, "This is our draft plan. We want to draft a quarterback as your successor, and we hope that you don't have to teach him, you don't have to be a teacher, but at least train him and at least kind of not take him under your wing, but just show him a few tricks to get by in the league when obviously you're going to retire in the next 5 years."
I agree. And then last but not least, if Derrick Henry goes down, this team's done.
Oh, yeah. The team, we already saw that. Derrick Henry was gone, and look how you saw the level just drop week by week until obviously the divisional game.
And that injury he had last season is scary because that's a reoccurring injury. So that's something to look out for.
So we'll see kind of how they do.
All I'm going to say about the Titans is that they better hope that Robert Woods comes back from his injury very soon, because all I'm hearing out of camp right now is that Treylon Burks is gassed, that he has asthma, and that he can't keep up. I think trading A.J. Brown was a mistake. They need receivers on that team. All they have is Derrick Henry. If you can stop the run, which a lot of teams are pretty good at stopping the run, you can beat the Titans fairly easily. Robert Woods needs to come back for this team to make the playoffs, and I think he'll be out the first few weeks of the season. I have them going 10-7 and missing the playoffs.
I'm sort of on the same train here. This is one of the two teams I have on this list that I can't fully explain sleeping on them, but I have the Titans going 7-10. Their schedule's not easy. They're in a very weak division, so they should win at least 4 or 5 games straight out of their division. But I have them splitting with the Colts and the Jaguars and sweeping the Texans. I can't fully explain why I have them going 7-10 being that bad, but I just don't think they have enough roster to compete. So,
I mean, I could totally see it happening.
Mhm.
With that, Braden, you want to go ahead and talk about the Indianapolis Colts for us?
Yeah, we're going to jump into the Colts. The previous record was 9-8. In terms of quarterbacks, they got rid of Carson Wentz, and they added Matty Ice and Nick Foles. So Nick Foles is obviously a solid backup. He has been throughout his career. My question is, will Matty Ice be enough to get them over the hump? I think he's towards the end of his career and he's sort of been declining a little bit, but he's still been very solid. So I think with his receivers, with Michael Pittman, he's got a pretty good one there. And then with Jonathan Taylor, he's not going to have to pass the ball as much because everybody's going to be looking at JT. And I think their defense is also looking sneaky good on paper. They added Stephon Gilmore, which is a huge signing. And then I think to win the division, they just have to do their job. They have to beat the Texans and the Jaguars, and they have to win. They have to get over 500. I have them going 9-8 and winning the division. They just have to get over 500.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Braden, because all they had to do last year was beat the Jaguars.
That's true. That is true.
That's all they had to do last year. So that's a big ask from the Indianapolis Colts franchise. I also have the Colts at 9-8. Matt Ryan is the definition of solid average. We'll get the job done, Jonathan Taylor going number one in every single fantasy football draft in the world, basically. I'm just afraid he's going to be overused as every star running back is usually. But Matt Ryan is a great outlet. Michael Pittman, again, is getting very, very, very overrated in fantasy drafts. He's in his third season? Second, third. I believe it's third.
I think it's just
He needs to hit his prime like T.Y. Hilton did with the Colts. He's got the raw talent. He's got everything so great. But he is wide receiver one in Indianapolis, and I just don't think he's talented enough when he has to face Jalen Ramsey and those sort of corners. But the Colts, they'll be 9-8. They always are. They always find a way to do it.
Yeah, I have the Colts. I'm a little bit more optimistic than you guys. I have them at 11-6. I think they easily take the division. They have like the best offensive line in football. Quentin Nelson is an absolute beast. That's literally the reason Jonathan Taylor is so good. Their offensive line is amazing. I think the addition of Alec Pierce in the draft was great. I think he's going to slide in as their number 2 wide receiver, take some pressure off of Michael Pittman. And then obviously Matt Ryan, he's very consistent. Like Joe said, a little average, a little above average. But I think that's a little bit better than what Carson Wentz gave, just because the Colts need consistency. And that's why I have them 11-6, losing in the AFC wildcard round.
Yeah, they need consistency, and they haven't had it since Andrew Luck.
Yep.
All you, Chris.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's the Colts. Another one of those teams that just feel like after Andrew Luck retired a few years back, it's just kind of been there. Been, teetering in the playoffs, out of the playoff, like taking that 6th spot, back and forth every year. And I think we're looking at another year of that again. I just think without Jonathan Taylor, they'd be definitely a lot worse than what they are. Again, their offensive line is keeping it, good for Jonathan Taylor to succeed. And that's why I see them going 9-8 again. I just see them having that kind of average year. I think they're going to take the 7th spot in the playoffs, just squeak in this year. I think they added a few more weapons, especially Michael Pittman, coming back. He's getting better and better every year. So, again, they're just kind of having that average year, take that last spot, have an early exit in the playoffs, but at least make the playoffs.
Nice. And as we transition, you all know that I had to give the Houston Texans to Brent.
Oh.
All right. Well, Chris,
do you like that little graphic? Second straight 4-win season.
Chris might be excited to hear that I'm not very high on the Texans this year.
You shouldn't be.
I have them worse than last year. I have them going 2-15.
About time.
Last in the AFC, last in the AFC South, and no playoffs. This has nothing to do with a slight on Davis Mills. Sorry, the name slipped for a minute.
His neck.
The team around him, they're not doing what?
Just keep going.
The team around him, they're not doing anything to help Davis Mills. In the newcomers section, I have Derek Stingley, their 3rd overall draft choice. And then besides that, Kyle Allen and Jeff Driscoll, who are backups. Literally nothing besides that.
Marlon
Hey,
Mack.
Jeff Driscoll for MVP. You remember him on that Thanksgiving?
I forgot about Marlon Mack. I didn't look at the trades. But yeah, they did add Marlon Mack as well. I don't know if that'll help too much though. Their new coach is Lovie Smith. I hated that hiring. He had a successful tenure with the Bears. He went 81-63. But after that, he transitioned to college. He coached for Illinois and only went 17-39 throughout his time there. So if he can't succeed at the college level, I don't see him taking a break and coming back to the NFL and succeeding there. As I said, Texans, I don't like them this year. I don't like them as much as I did last year. A lot because they're like the exact same, and they only got 4 wins last year. The Texans can win the division if Davis Mills has an MVP year and Lovie Smith wins Coach of the Year. I give it like a 0.01% chance.
That's
And
being
that's all-
generous.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
The Houston Texans for me. Davis Mills is the GOAT. It's really all about how you can see over your O-line, and he easily can. He's gonna be the starter for the entire year. They're gonna see what their boy out of Stanford has. They did draft Dameon Pierce as well, the running back out of Florida. So I'd honestly expect him to start week 1 over Marlon Mack, actually.
I agree.
Other than that, Brandon Cooks will get his 1,000 yards. J.J. Watt's going to be traded back to the Texans along with DeAndre Hopkins for this team to win the division. But in all seriousness, the Texans are going to beat each team once. The Titans, the Colts, the Jags. They're going to find some other ways to win, and they're going 5-12.
Okay.
Oh no! All right, I'm gonna go first before Christmas.
And I will
goes
not.
on.
I will not put money on that.
I'm with Brent here. I have the Texans going 2-15. I think every other team in the league got better, except for the Texans. I think their only valuable pickup was Derek Stingley. So yeah, I don't see how they can get better. I only see how they can get worse. 2-15, worse than the league.
They're definitely going 2-15. There's no question about it. If I can name 3 organizations that are the worst run in the NFL, they will take the cake at first. I mean, just awful handling of any business. The only good thing they did was dumping Deshaun Watson and somehow getting him that contract that still blows my mind to this day. Literally the worst organization, I think, in the NFL right now, other than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Going to compete them for the worst record in the NFL next year. They are an awful team. Davis Mills is not the answer. The only answer that they're going to have to find for him is finding a collar that'll fit him. This is just an awful organization, and winning 2 games will be good for them. Should be a positive outlook. And they either need to move the team or they need a complete rebuild from top to bottom. Lovie Smith is definitely not the answer, as I think he is going to be the worst coach in the NFL this year. I think Davis Mills will be the worst quarterback in the league this year, and that duo together will win them 2 games.
I'm just going to go ahead and I really wanted Chris to blow up more. I also actually had the Texans at 2-15. I was trying to find a way to BS 5 wins. Couldn't do it.
There's no way you can BS 5 wins for them. I don't see it mathematically possible.
No, they're
them getting
2-15 on my sheet. I just wanted to recreate some fun times. But
If
this
they
one
get
I'm
5
serious
wins.
about. This one I'm serious about. Jacksonville Jaguars went 3-14 last year. 2017 was their last playoff appearance. The Jacksonville Jaguars, for newcomers, I actually put in Travis Etienne because he did not take a single snap for the Jacksonville Jaguars last season after tearing his ACL. They added in Dougie P, the greatest coach of all time, Super Bowl winner against Tom Brady. Dougie P knows how to get it done, baby. Biggest question around this team, T-Law 16. Trevor Lawrence, how does he progress in year 2? And how does this team win the division? Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence play like they did at Clemson. That's all I have. Chris, I'll pass it over to you after I say the Jaguars are going 6-11.
Yeah, no. They may get 4 wins this year. Like I've said the past 2 years, Trevor Lawrence is a bust. He is the Johnny Manziel of doing great in college and not performing well in the NFL. I'm not saying because of the off the field issues. He's having great off the field issues. He's not doing anything bad. He's just not an NFL caliber quarterback, I think. I just, after the whole Urban Meyer situation last year and the handling of the team, and the still, rumors of them relocating, I think it's all creating bad press around the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, they picked up Travis Etienne, and not picked him up, but yeah, he's going to play this year, and that may obtain something, but that'll obtain the one more win. They will beat the Texans twice, and they will get one more win, scoundrel somewhere else in a close game. I have them going 3 or 4 wins, missing the playoffs, obviously, and really concerning is Trevor Lawrence a future at quarterback.
You don't think Brandon Scherf is good for a few more wins there?
No, he is a great offensive lineman. Don't get me wrong. Just you can't add one piece to the burning fire and expect it to be extinguished like that.
They didn't add one piece. They got Evan Ingram. They paid Christian Kirk the top
great
3
Evan
highest
Ingram.
paid receivers. They're gonna be awesome. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, I'm so excited to watch them.
They're gonna be. I have them at 4-13. I don't think they're doing enough for Trevor Lawrence. I know that a lot of people don't want to play in Jacksonville. That's why they have to pay up to get people there.
Yeah, who would want to play in Jacksonville?
Look at Christian Kirk's contract. It's way.
my.
But I have them 15th in the AFC, 3rd in the AFC South, and obviously no playoffs.
That's bold.
I think you guys pretty much touched on it. I have them going 5-12, 15th in the AFC. I think they tried to improve, but they didn't do enough, I think.
They suck.
Well, since we just talked about the worst division in football, why don't we brighten up a little bit and talk about the best division in football? Brent, you got the call of the LA Chargers.
All right, the LA Chargers. Last year's record 9-8. I think they're gonna do way better than that. Well, a lot better. They'll do a lot better than that. Obviously, you got the quarterback battle, Justin Herbert versus Easton Stick. That's gonna be a spicy one, guys. That's gonna be spicy. Just kidding. Justin Herbert, all the way. He's awesome. I love him.
MVP.
Maybe. It's very possible. Newcomers, listen, I can talk all day about Khalil Mack and JC Jackson. Phenomenal players, great additions. But they even made great additions outside of that. They got Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson, who are great role players on that defensive line. And then they got a new pass catcher for Justin Herbert, Gerald Everett, a solid tight end, is an improvement over Jared Cook. And then they got a solid backup in Chase Daniel and even a new kicker in Dustin Hopkins. In the draft, they got one of the best guards, Zion Johnson, out of Boston College, and added Isaiah Spiller, who will be good depth behind Austin Eckler. The Chargers, by far, had the best offseason of any team in the NFL. My analysis for the team, they made solid moves on all cylinders and already had an above 500 record. If the team can click, they will have no problem making the playoffs and best roster on paper in football. I have them going 11-6, 6th in the AFC, 2nd in the AFC West, and I think they'll lose in the AFC wildcard round this year.
I think you're a bit modest. I'm going to be honest.
That's fine. I love the Chargers.
I also absolutely love the LA Chargers. I love everything they've got going for them. Their only thing they could possibly improve on, and I'm saying this with the core of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, is their wide receiver core. They're getting up there in age. Obviously, Keenan Allen is continuing to flatline and go like this with his 1,000-yard seasons. Braden saw it last season on his fantasy team. Mike Williams, big play Mike. That's never going to change. This team is phenomenal. They're going 13-4, right behind the Bills in the AFC. And honestly, as much as I hate to say it, it's going to be Chargers-Bills in the conference championship, and that game's going to blow up. It's going to be phenomenal.
That would be an awesome game. I would love to see that.
Alrighty, I'll take that. Braden, take it.
Okay, I was just gonna say I got the Chargers at 11-6, like Brett, and they're gonna be 7th in the AFC. Nothing too crazy to make the playoffs. But yeah, they have a very solid roster. It's just that it's a tough division to play in. It's a tough conference to play in. So only losing 4 games is a bit crazy, especially in that division. But I do respect it. I would love to see it. I love the Chargers, but they're going 11-6.
Wait, so you said you have them going 7? Like 7 in the
11-6,
playoffs?
7. Yeah.
Who's your number 1 then? Who wins this division? Exactly. No questions needed. They win the division, of course. The Chargers.
We lose him to connection issues, and he says no answer.
Exactly. 12-5. I have the Chargers going. I think Justin Herbert is going to win MVP this year at quarterback. I mean, he is playing phenomenal. He played great last year. He honestly should have won it last year almost. But this year's going to be a good year for him. They have a stacked roster. You talked about the age of their wide receivers, but let's play it to hockey. The Capitals had one of the oldest rosters, and they won the Super Bowl, and they won the Stanley Cup. I do have them losing to the Bills before they play the Bengals for the AFC title game. So I don't have them winning the Super Bowl this year, but I have them coming close, and then potentially next year winning the Super Bowl. The Chargers are a great team, and especially if they add more young weapons at wide receiver to kind of coach them up, they're going to be an unstoppable force in 2 years.
Here's the problem with the LA Chargers for me. This is the 4th year in a row I've had them with at least 12 wins, and they've made the playoffs or won 10 games in none of them. None of them. None of them. Every year we overhype the LA Chargers. Is this their dang year? Is it time? Is it finally time?
It's a little different this year, I feel like. Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, those guys are
true.
Oh, the defense is disgusting.
That's true.
Agreed.
Do you guys like how I put – oh, bye, Braden. Do you guys like how I put play-in game?
Yeah, because it was.
Yeah, basically. Dude, all they had to do was tie. All they had to do was tie.
It was close.
It's that
It was so close. It came down to a 3-second OT kick. It was lit.
Besides the Bills-Chiefs playoff game, that was my favorite game of the season.
That's probably – dude, every game of the wild card weekend was also crazy besides the Bills-Pats game. That's the only one that wasn't crazy. Oh, load.
He's got the circle of death.
He's got the circle of death.
He needs to get out of the basement.
Dude, that was like our podcast last week.
Hey, let's go back to it. Kick him out.
I'll move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. They went 10-7, lost to the Bengals in the wild card. That was pretty evident it was going to happen at the 4-5 matchup. Again, last year 10-7. Obviously, newcomers, Devontae Adams, biggest name that comes to mind. Josh McDaniels will be the head coach there. His seat's cool. There's nothing going to happen to him, although the Raiders is a very volatile market, so just watch out for that, honestly. In-depth analysis, Derek Carr has one of the greatest chances this year to win MVP, along with Justin Herbert, along with Josh Allen. Those are my top 3 for MVP this year, all in the AFC. And how do the Raiders win this division? Simple. You sweep the Broncos, and you got to beat the Chiefs, and you got to beat the Chargers. That's what you got to do. If you can sweep them, great. If not, at least win your home game. If you can do that, you can win this division. Raiders 11-6, 6th in the AFC for me this year.
I can agree with you. 11-6. I mean, adding Devontae Adams with Derek Carr, I feel like we'll go back to the college days. I feel like they're going to have a pretty good year. Not going to say a phenomenal year. They're going to get that 7th spot, that last spot. They're going to just squeak in to the playoffs at 11-6, and I mean they're going to have a good year. I mean, it's just I don't think they're there yet to make a title run. I don't think they have enough pieces.
No.
They have good pieces, just not enough.
So Carson, Chris has something for us. He said, "Let's not overhype the Raiders now. Look at that secondary and come back and tell me how they make the playoffs." Well, I'll just say this: the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl with the worst defense we've ever seen in the world, and the Las Vegas Raiders offense is basically a regime, an exact resemblance. Besides Patrick Mahomes,
I will go.
Derek Carr to Patrick Mahomes, Darren Waller to Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams is way better than Tyreek Hill ever was. No offense. Who am I forgetting? Other than that, who was
seen
in there?
It wasn't Pringle. Defenses are vital for a team, but the offense is more important. We can use the example from Washington. Washington may have a top 5 defense in the league, but look at their win percentages over the past 2 years with the weapons that they have because their offense is not good. Offenses are more important to an NFL team than defenses are any day.
Do not compare Derek Carr to Pat Mahomes. In the past, you cannot, but my hot take of the year is Derek Carr is going to have better statistics throwing than Patrick Mahomes this year.
And I think we have
yards
gone on a
and touchdowns,
we have gone
and
on
interceptions,
a
completion percentage
for years.
That's
it's time to stop overhyping Patrick Mahomes. He's a great quarterback, but we are overhyping him a lot more than what he really is playing like.
I disagree. I love Patrick Mahomes. I think he's still the best quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, praise him because he's a great quarterback. I just think that we're overhyping him and we're putting him on a tier that no one can touch when I think that there are many young quarterbacks in the league right now that could potentially get to his level.
I've been going back.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on the Raiders this whole offseason.
Well, and I think people are knocking Derek Carr a lot more than what needs to be. They're literally like a Derek Carr awful quarterback. Like what? I think Derek Carr is a decent quarterback. I think he's
a good
above average. He's a good quarterback, and I think with Devontae Adams, he can win games. So stop putting him down.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. The problem, like I've been saying with a lot of these AFC teams, is there's just so many good teams, and I wanted to put 4 teams in the AFC West in the playoffs and make it the first time ever, but I just can't do it. It's too tough to do that. Obviously, we've never seen it before. We only have a 1-year sample size with the 7-team format. Is it 1 or 2 years? I think it's 1 year.
For the 7?
Yeah.
Last year was the 2nd year.
Okay, so this will be the 3rd year.
I believe so, yeah.
But yeah, I think they're going to be really good, 10-7, but I don't think they have enough to make the playoffs, unfortunately.
Yeah, because last year was the first year we used.
Go ahead, Brady.
Yeah. Okay. I have them going 11-6. They're tragically my 8th team. They're missing the playoffs at 11-6, even though teams like the Chargers and I think the Ravens are also 11-6. They're gonna miss the playoffs. It's gonna come down to the Broncos and the Raiders and the Chargers. One of them's not gonna make it. It's gonna come down to the Raiders for me. Tragically, they're not. They're just. It's too loaded. It's too loaded. They can't. So I would believe you if you said the Chargers, the Raiders, or the Broncos. Even the Chiefs wouldn't make it. One team in that division is not going to make it.
Agreed.
That takes us to Braden. You have the pleasure of talking about the Denver Broncos.
The Broncos, previously 7-10, rough season for them. As you see there, they ended the season on a 4-game losing streak. So they were 7-6. They were above 500 before that 4-game losing streak. Obviously, massively, they're riding with Russell Wilson now. He's an excellent quarterback, and he has been for the past several years. So I think with that, and their new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, I'm hoping he's going to get them over the hump too. Russ has plenty of weapons. He's got Devontae Williams, he's got Cortland Sutton, he's got Jerry Jeudy, he's got Kate Hamler, he's got Tim Patrick, he's got Alberto. He's got plenty of weapons, and that defense is
Great analysis.
I think
They-
they're going to go 1-6. They're going to take the 6th time in the AFC, and they're going to make the playoffs.
They didn't like Alberto. He said that and he was gone.
It's all right.
They're
Is
going
he there?
11-6. They're taking the 6th seed.
Okay, I
Well,
got
that's
that.
all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear.
7-6, and I very much agree with that analysis. I have them one win more, 12-5. I think they get second in the AFC, first in the AFC West, and I think they lose in the AFC divisional round. The Broncos are one of my favorite teams this upcoming year. I cannot wait to watch Russ cook on an actual amazing team with an amazing defense. I think they're going to be really good this year.
I can
Joe, would you
agree
like to
with
take
that.
it before me?
You know, I'd love to hear your perspective first.
Well, I'm going to have a very hot take. Very hot take. You know, I think that the Broncos added great weapons, phenomenal weapons. Like, don't get me wrong, they did a great job in this offseason. I just don't think that we're going to see it in year one. It's going to take 2 years for them to develop. I think they added great weapons, but as we see, you add great weapons, you may think on paper they look great, but if they don't play well, you're going to have a rough time. I think the Broncos will go 8-9 this year. Next year, possibly 11-6. But I just think that the Broncos are going to need a year to kind of develop with the pieces that they have and see what works. Because you could have a team like we saw the Lakers, a team stacked full of superstars and all-stars, but they don't win because they don't play well together. Do we know that they're going to all play well at their superstar level together? Russell Wilson is a great quarterback, a great add for the organization. But if he doesn't play well with the targets that they have, they got to take a look and be like, well, what does work? And so I think we just need a year for them to develop. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. And I know people are going to hate to hear that, but I just think that the Broncos need a year to kind of mature with the weapons that they have and figure out what works and what doesn't work with all the superstars that they picked up.
You know, I honestly feel that's a really fair analysis, actually. It takes a lot
It's
for a
not
team to
crazy
bring
to
in a
think.
star quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring in a quarterback after playing with, Drew Lock and all these other
Don't hate
quarterbacks
on
the past
Drew
few years,
Lock. He's about to make the Seahawks
I'm not-
like 15-2.
But I'm saying have a quarterback like Drew Lock, and now you move to Russell Wilson. That's a big adjustment to make. That is a big jump step to make. And is the organization poised to make that jump right now, or do they need a year to develop? So I think you just need to take a year to figure it out.
Chris, you want to answer that comment before I go ahead?
What is it?
You're getting ripped by a Broncos fan.
Man, the Broncos, I'm not hating on the team. I'm not saying that they're an awful team. I just think personally they need a year to develop with what the weapons that they have. Rome wasn't built in a day. You need time to look at this roster and make sure you have all the right pieces and that you didn't just add superstar talent, just add superstar talent. Give it a year. Let's see how they play out. They could, I will be okay if they if they shock me and they, win 14 games. Like, I will be happy because they did a great job this offseason. But I don't think that we should go in before week 1 without seeing them play together and how they play on the field together, saying they are the best team, they are Super Bowl contenders right off the bat. Because obviously it takes time to develop.
That's a fair take.
Going from what they had last year to this year, that's a huge jump. That is a phenomenal gargantuan jump. So can they play that jump very well, or are they going to get nervous? And again, we can use the Lakers as an example, a talent full of superstars, but they don't even make the title. They lose. So that's something that I want to see out of this year, and I don't think we should be saying they're the best team before we even see them on the field week 1, because that's just giving them an expectation to let us down by week 7. So just something to look for this year and not jump to the gun and say, they added Russell Wilson, they added this target, added this player. They're going to be the best team in the world. I don't think it's fair enough to say that yet. And it's disrespecting the other teams that are working their way there.
I agree with a lot of what you said, Chris. You actually had a lot of good analysis there. My main concern is with Russell Wilson, not just because of the hand, but he went 2-5 with the Seahawks last year. And no offense, but DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are a much better pair than Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, especially in their prime. But again, huge young talent. Jerry Judy's actually going to explode this year. I'm very excited to see what he's got. And then KJ Hamler needs to be that number 3. He needs to have that next jump of his season. He's been injured a lot. He hasn't been taking a ton of snaps. I still hate Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams, I expect him to take a nice leap as well. But having Melvin Gordon there is a nice little backfield to have there for Denver. It's top 5 in the league. The Denver Broncos haven't made the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl in 2015 with Peyton Manning. That defense is nothing like that defense was back then. Defense is still very good. Don't get me wrong, top 10 in the league. I think it was Brent, maybe. Brent, you said 12-5.
Yeah, I said 12-5.
Brent, you said 11-6. Okay, I'm actually one under that. I'm 10-7 with the Broncos again. Again, this division's so difficult to play in. Like the Denver Broncos, obviously being last in this division last year, I do expect them to take a big jump. Again, Rome's not built in a day. I don't see them as a Super Bowl team, but I do see them making the playoffs at 10-7. So that's my take.
Prove me wrong. I want to be proven wrong. I'm not here to say this is right. I want to be proven wrong and saying that they did right. I just don't think the jump is there yet. I don't think that you can just jump the gun and get overhyped over something that may not even work out.
And I think Chris had a ton of great takes. Brent, you had a ton of great takes. Braden, from what I could hear, it sounded like you knew what you were talking about. But once again, Rome's not built in a day. Russell Wilson has got a good 3-4 years left in his prime probably. And I'm just very interested to see what he does in a new system because playing in Seattle and playing in Denver, 2 very different atmospheres. And we'll see what Russell Wilson can do.
Very different weather.
That's true.
So we'll see.
I'm very, very, very excited for the Denver and this entire division. And with that being said, we'll go past the Denver Broncos and talk about the last team in the AFC West. Chris, tell me about the Kansas City Chiefs, who are looking for their 7th consecutive AFC West title this year.
I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs obviously are a pretty decent team this year. They lost, their best wide receiver, but they replaced him with Juju. So you kind of have your checks and balances there. I don't think it's at the same level, but you're there. You have Travis Kelce, an elite tight end. I think he's going to digress this year. I think he's going to be 7 or 8 in our tight end rankings this year towards the end of the season. I think he's going to take that dip, obviously, as a tight end, being in the league. The more you're in the league, the harder it gets on your body. It's a very, physical position. So I think he's going to digress just a little bit, but I'm not saying too much. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is still going to sling the ball. I think he's going to obviously have a little digression this year as well. I mean, but, you have good on all sides. CEH, great running back, great young running back. I think he's going to have another great year if he stays healthy this year. And, I mean, we'll even go down to Harrison Butker or Butler, whatever. Wow. You have great positions all out, and you have a team that can make a run, but I don't think will make the run. I don't think they will definitely win or not win. They will definitely make the playoffs at 12-5. I think they're going to have just about the same year that they do this year, but they won't go far in the playoffs, and they'll either have a first or second round exit.
Okay, I'm interested because I saw my face. Brent didn't give it as much off. You said Travis Kelce 6th or 7th or 7th or 8th?
Yeah, anywhere from 6 to 8. I think he's
Can I get those 6 tight ends that are going to outperform him?
Well, I think it's too early to call which tight ends will outperform him because, like I said, the tight end is one of the most physical positions in the NFL other than your O-line, your D-line. You are physical. You are getting hurt. You're getting hit every game. You're taking these big hits. That's got to do something to the body. I mean, the stat that I pulled up, what was it, the last podcast about the longest tenured, position. Tight end was towards the end of the list because, they get hurt. I hate to have bad omens, but that's what I just think. I think that this year, he's been top these past 3 years. We're going to have to see a regression. We can't keep thinking he's the standard every year. And I just think that this year is just a year where he's just, not going to play to his best. But like I said, he's still going to be a top 10 tight end. And I'm not calling it out of question that he will make the top 5. I just think the sixth best tight end right there is a perfect spot for him. We have a lot of young tight ends in the league now that are, phenomenal. And I just think that it's a disrespect to all these young tight ends that have more energy and less, physical take on the body to say that they can't do as good or better than Travis Kelce.
Fair enough. I'll go quickly with the Kansas City Chiefs here. I said it either last podcast or a few podcasts ago. I'm going to say this very bluntly because I'm going to really piss off some people. But 9-8 missing the playoffs. Braden, go ahead.
Jumping off that, I talked earlier about one team in this division has to miss the playoffs. It's not going to be the Chiefs. They're going to go 12-5. I think they did downgrade a little bit, especially with the receiver room. But I think it's still going to be fine. Their team is still very solid. They're going to be solid for years to come.
Yeah, I have them at 10-7, 7th in the AFC, getting that last wild card spot. 3rd in the AFC West. Obviously, it sucks losing one of the best playmakers, Tyreek Hill, but I think Patrick Mahomes is good enough to be fine. So I have them losing in the AFC wildcard round this year.
Fair enough, honestly. We're going to go ahead and ramp this up a little quicker. We just got through the AFC at 80 minutes. So I know we have a lot to talk about, but really quick, we have Brent and I's segment of best bets. I'll go through these really quickly. My first one's a 3-legged parlay today. Braves minus 1.5, Brewers minus 1.5, Dodgers minus 1.5. The Braves are playing the Nats, who suck, no offense. The Brewers are playing the Pirates, who suck, no offense. And I misspelled Dodgers completely. I'm getting that out of there. The Dodgers minus 1.5 are playing the Cubs today. Plus 473. It feels like free money at this point. Brent, your first one.
Yeah, I have Hunter Green over 6Ks now because they bumped it up since I gave you that stat. He faces Tampa, who is striking out at 25.2% versus right-handers in the past month. That's the 3rd most in the MLB, so I think he's going to get a lot of strikeouts today. My next one is Carlos Carrasco, over 35.5 fantasy points. This is for Prize Picks, by the way. He faces Miami, who is striking out at 23.8% versus right-handers in the past month, which is the 7th most in the MLB. And he pitches much better at home, as he has had a 3.63 ERA with a 6-1 record at Citi Field. So I think he's going to have a great day today.
And then finally, for our boy Trent, my no-run first inning plays of the day is Angels, Orioles, Reds, Rays, Mets, Marlins, Dodgers, Cubs. So go ahead and hit those up because I've made way too much money recently on those. Chris, are you ready for yours, or do you need a minute?
Oh, let's roll, baby. Let's go.
All right, we might as well hit them all out.
All righty. So this is going to be a weird one. So we're going to go to the country of Finland today. Did you know from 1991 to 2010, the country of Finland had a national sauna contest? So the contest stated that whoever stayed inside the sauna the longest, there were 3 rounds, would win. There's a men's and a women's division. But tragically, they had to stop the contest in 2010 after an individual died, another one passed out in a 230 Celsius sauna trying to win. So obviously, the risk did not outweigh the risk outweighed the reward, and they canceled the national sauna contest. But people now take to social media and other platforms to kind of relive the contest and see how long they can perform in the sauna. But sauna contest.
That sounds very dangerous.
Yeah, I was about to
well,
say.
yeah, because you're just sitting in the room and you can't leave. You just have to stay. And so people were in there for like hours on end.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, that doesn't
Would
sound
never want
fun.
to do that. So unless anyone wants to take me up in a challenge,
I'm
good. All right, Braden, talk about fly. Eagles fly. Or don't.
Oh.
Okay, so
The Eagles are the worst team in the division. They're losing all the
we'll
games.
skip that. I'll go to the Dallas Cowboys. This has been the weirdest podcast I've ever been a part of. Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, his seat is warm, not hot. He cannot continue to lose in the first round of the playoffs. That's not his fault because his quarterback is trash. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Hey,
I said some main thing to talk about is Dak Prescott. Obviously, quarterback. We talk about him every year. Can he push this team and win
Whoa,
a
you think
playoff
Dak's going to be the
game
starting
more
quarterback?
than once? Oh my gosh, yes. The way they win this division,
DiNucci, baby.
Ben DiNucci.
DiNucci.
The way
believe.
they win this division, it's between them and the Eagles. I don't want to. I'll hear your takes in a minute, but beat the Eagles twice. Don't choke in the playoffs. That's how you win the division. Although I have them at 9-8, 7th in the NFC, getting that last spot.
Yeah, I have them at 12-5. I think they're going to be awesome even without Amari Cooper. I think CD takes a huge step up. He's going to be awesome this year, especially for fantasy. So grab him in fantasy if you can. I think they get third in the NFC, first in the NFC East, and then I think they lose in the NFC divisional round this year.
Chris?
I hope this team loses every single game. I don't like Dallas. Never have, never will. They will be always the last team I will pick out of a battle. And I want to, I think that they're going to have a 9-8 year. I think they're just kind of going to be there. I think they're going to take the last spot in the division. And I think they're going to lose in that, the seventh, the first round game. They're going to lose out. I just think after losing some of their weapons this year, yes, they kept a majority of their good players and their good talent. I don't see Dak having a great year. I just don't. I think Mike McCarthy will be fired after this year, which sadly will mean the end of the Ben DiNucci era. But I just don't see this team performing the way everyone thinks they're going to perform. I think I saw a chart saying that they're the 8th best team. And I was like, no, they're not. I would rank so many other teams above them. I don't like them this year. I think that they're going to have a big digression over last year, and I think they're overhyped.
That's fair. So we're without Braden the rest of the way, probably. I wonder if he got a phone call from somebody. I'm just kidding. He had the Cowboys at 10-7. Did not give me a ranking, but we can go ahead and I'll talk about the Philadelphia Eagles for him. Philadelphia Eagles went 9-8 last year. They lost to the Buccaneers in the wild card. They got demolished, as they obviously should have been. Top newcomer is A.J. Brown. That's the biggest guy we got to talk about. Him and Devonta Smith could tear up defenses this upcoming season. I have them at 10-7, 4th in the NFC, winning this division. Braden has them at 12-5, obviously winning this division.
I have them going 7-10. I think that, again, another overhyped team. I think I saw the Cowboys and the Eagles at 8-9 in one graphic of best teams. I don't know where, I don't see that. I just don't see them performing as well as everyone thinks they're going to perform. And the NFC East is that division where people either think they're going to perform really well and not, or really poorly or perform really well and then not, or perform poorly and do well. I think that is the NFC East's reputation. And I see the Eagles getting overhyped again this year and not doing as well as they did last year.
I disagree. I think the NFC East is going to be a lot better than previous years this year. The Eagles had a big overhaul in their roster. Obviously, Joe touched on it. A.J. Brown leading that wide receiver core is awesome. I think that does tremendous things for Jalen Hurts. I'm personally a Jalen Hurts believer. I think he's a great quarterback, and honestly, being a Giants fan, it scares me. And we didn't even talk about the additions they made on defense. James Bradbury being one of them, a great corner. He'll slide in as their cornerback too, opposite Darius Slay. They're going to be great this year. I still think the Cowboys take the division, but they'll be 9-8, which sadly is not enough to make the playoffs in the NFC for me. They're just missing it, and sucks for Eagles fans.
Chris, talk about the Washington Commanders. I mean, football. The Washington football team was 7-10 last year. The Redskins have not won a playoff game since 2005. Let's talk about the Commanders.
Brand new team, brand new face. Still have an awful owner, but we can look past that this year. I have liked almost every move they have made this year, other than re-signing Brandon Sheriff, even though they didn't have the cap space for him. I think Carson Wentz will be a serviceable quarterback for Washington. I think he was a good quarterback, just playing with a very bad Indianapolis team. And, people have always said Washington is one position or one good quarterback performing well away from making the playoffs and eventually winning games. And I think that with Carson Wentz, obviously we're not going to be Super Bowl contenders this year, but I think Carson Wentz will have us winning the division. I like their pickups with Brian Robinson, Percy Butler, Mathis. I think we had great pickups, and I think we have a top 5 defense, and there are only 3 people ahead of us with Montez Sweat, Brandon or Jonathan Allen, all these good positions on defense. I just see a solid roster on paper. Obviously, it could translate horribly. Like I said, the NFC East is that team, but I see them going 12-5 and winning the division.
Holy crap! I had the Commanders at 6-11. Braden had them at 7-10. I don't believe this team wins the division, not with Carson Wentz at the helm. Arnold. But a minute. Washington first season as the Commanders. I just have them at 6-11. I don't see too much improvement, but I am a big fan of Antonio Gibson this year.
Hey, believe. He may not be my first round pick again this year, but just believe. Just believe.
I have the Commanders at 9-8. I think they'll be about an average team. I think Carson Wentz gets shit on too much. I think he's a decent quarterback, but it's not enough to make the playoffs. I think they get 3rd in the NFC East and 10th in the NFC.
And with that, we'll let you take it over to the New York Giants, Brent.
Yeah, the New York Giants. They're not going to make the playoffs. Surprise, surprise. But I do think they will improve from last year's record. Obviously, it's on the screen there. They went 4-13. Their big additions this offseason were they overhauled the offensive line. Evan Neal, John Feliciano, and Mark Lewinsky are going to be on the offensive line now. Huge improvements on what they had last season. And then the other big one is Kayvon Thibodeau, drafting him at number 5 in the draft. I think that's going to be huge for the defense. But one of the main talking points for the Giants this year is their new coach, Brian Daboll. I loved when the Giants decided to bring in Daboll, former offensive coordinator for the Bills. He built a great staff around him. He added Wink Martindale, former defensive coordinator for the Ravens, and then he added Mike Kafka for offensive coordinator, who was Patrick Mahomes' quarterback coach. So some great talent there. Overall, I believe the Giants made a lot of improvements, and I believe they finally figured out a solution for the offensive line, which will allow Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley more time to make plays. But the problem will be the defensive side of the ball. They lost James Bradbury, Jabril Peppers, and Logan Ryan all in the secondary. So that's a huge loss. And the only way they can win the division is if Brian Daboll can turn Daniel Jones into a Josh Allen light, which I don't see a high chance of happening. I love his philosophies and the quarterback rushing plays he has designed for Josh Allen over the years, but Daniel Jones needs to take a huge step for this team to make the playoffs.
Yeah, as the Giants fan, obviously you know what you're talking about. You said a lot of great things there. I have the Giants also improving to 5-12 this season. Getting that little extra step. I do believe it is Daniel Jones' last year at the helm. And that's okay for the New York Giants because there's one heck of a quarterback class coming up in the 2023 NFL draft. between Stroud, Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler. Get ready. Just get ready. If your team tanks this season, I wouldn't be worried if it's for your quarterback because there is some crazy talent up and coming from these young guns. So a lot to look forward to, but I have them improving this year as well.
And I do too. I have them going 5-12. I think they added good pieces, especially with their new head coach. Obviously, don't think that Daniels is the answer. They just need to move on. I think they're almost to that point. They're just not there yet. They'll hit that point towards the end of the season when he throws pick after pick after pick. But I have them improving, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel for them. It's just if they make the right pick in this next year's draft class, will it propel them to success?
All right.
Brent, Green Bay Packers.
All right. So I had the Packers.
Go Pack, go, baby.
You can see on your screen there, 13-4 last year, one of the best teams in the NFL. Newcomers this year are Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt, two studs from that killer Georgia defense. They also added Sammy Watkins, Christian Watson, and Romeo Doubs this offseason to try and replace Devontae Adams and MVS. Not huge replacements there. And then they also added Jerron Reed, the defensive tackle out of Kansas City. The Packers were the best regular season team last year, but they lost huge weapons on both sides of the ball, Devontae Adams and Zadarius Smith. I believe they take a step down this year and barely squeak into the playoffs. I have them at a record of 10-7. The Packers can win the division if Aaron Rodgers shows that his MVP success was based on him and not Devontae Adams. Historically, he tends to put up better numbers when Devontae is not on the field, but I believe that is more coincidental than anything.
Yeah, that's the big question mark around the Green Bay Packers this year is the loss of Devontae Adams and not really getting a big weapon back for the Green Bay Packers. So that was huge. Obviously, they got a ton of draft capital from the Raiders, but I also have them taking a step down, 11-6. I still have them winning this division. Barely winning this division. But if Aaron Rodgers can win a third MVP, and he's definitely deserved the last two, then this team will continue to flourish.
I can kind of agree on that point. I have them going 12-5. I think this is Aaron Rodgers' probably last season before he retires and off to the glory. I think he's going to have another monstrous season. He's going to play with, the dagger in his back of losing Devontae Adams. And he's going to show everyone why he, in layman's terms, is better than Tom Brady, even though we already know Tom Brady and his record. I think he's going to play like that just because in his last season, he wants to go out on top as a winner. He's going to go to the playoffs, and they're either going to be a first or second round exit. I don't see them going too far. I think that there are a lot of better teams in the NFC, but I see them doing pretty well this year. And my second and third place will surprise you, so I'll just leave it at that.
And to recap the NFC East for Braden, he had the Eagles at 12-5, Cowboys at 10-7, Commanders at 7-10, and Giants at 6-11. So there you go. Next team up was Braden's team with the Minnesota Vikings. They went 8-9. Interesting stat here: they have not reached the Super Bowl since 1977. They're 0-4 in the Super Bowl, as a lot of people know, just like the Buffalo Bills, except they didn't do them consecutively. The Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins is going to be taking the helm as usual. I don't see anything really happening to Kirk Cousins this season because, honestly, he doesn't even get injured that often. Same trio, wide receiver, Jefferson, Thielen, and KJ Osborne. They're going to be ready to rock and roll. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, same there. Same coach and Mike Zimmer. Wait, sorry, not same coach. I don't know why I said that. Kevin O'Connell is actually coaching for the Minnesota Vikings. I've thought Mike Zimmer for so long of my life. Not too much to talk about. The Vikings did not have a great draft for the newcomer side of the spots, but I do have them with this electric offense at 10-7, sixth in the NFC. And the way they win this division, it's simple: beat the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I have them at 11-6, fourth in the NFC, first in the NFC North, and I think they lose in the NFC wildcard round. I believe a lot of their losses last year contributed to Mike Zimmer I mean, y'all saw the stats. They were in so many one-score games and just fell short in pretty much all of them. They had such bad luck on that side of things, and I think they make a massive improvement this year, and I think they are a team to be reckoned with for sure.
I have a very grim feeling about this team. I just, for some reason, do not feel good about them this year. I feel like they've digressed. They've gotten worse. They had a bad draft. They have kind of really done much in the offseason. If you guys kind of agree, they've really just been quiet other than having a new head coach. I have them potentially going 6-11 or 7-10. I think they're just kind of there this year. I really don't see them any better. I see them missing the playoffs, and there's a team that in this division, I think they will go third in this division. That will shock, but I have a feeling when I explain who's my second, it makes a little more sense. But I think them going third, 6-9, 7-10. I just don't like the team this year. Just don't like them. Like I said, Kirk Cousins is a hit or miss, and I think he'll miss this year.
Fair enough.
Like Joe, I actually kind of have like Kirk Cousins as like a dark horse MVP candidate.
I'm saying
Nice.
but look, if he hits, he's gonna hit, and he's gonna do the organization great. But if he misses, he's going to miss bad, and the team will pay for it.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
The Chicago Bears went 6-11 last year. Their last playoff win was in 2010. New head coach change, obviously. Matt Nagy on the way out. They did add a new Matt Eberflus. So his seat's pretty cool right now. The dynamic duo here that I'm looking at is Montgomery and Herbert in the backfield. What can they do? What can Justin Fields do? But my real eye is on Byron Pringle and Equanimeous St. Brown, how they're going to work together with Darnell Mooney with that receiving core. And this is where this hurts. I have the Chicago Bears at 2-15 with the first overall pick in the NFL draft. I am not a believer in Justin Fields. This defense, I'm going to use the word, is abysmal. This defense is terrible.
Thank you.
The Chicago Bears have the worst luck when it comes down to game-winning kicks, as we all know, for when they need to win games. And Matt Nagy is a much better head coach than he got credit for it in Chicago.
I'm the exact same way, Joe. I think they're going to be last in the NFC, last in the NFC North, and last in the NFL. I have them at a record of 1-16. They didn't make enough improvements for Justin Fields. His best weapon outside of Darnell Mooney is like Byron Pringle. It's awful. It's so bad, and they're going to be terrible to watch this year.
What can I say? It's the Bears.
The Bears.
They're going to win three. They're going to win 3 or 4 games, better than the Texans, obviously, but 3 or 4 games is in their future. Missing the playoffs in awful fashion, but they're going to get one upset win this year. I don't know yet, but they're going to get one upset win.
I honestly believe that this team right here would lose the Alabama Crimson Tide. We've always talked about it, but this team is so bad. There is nothing positive about this team.
There is, but the way, like, I give every NFL team credit because when you look at it, Alabama Crimson Tide, they're a bunch of college players trying to play in the NFL. The NFL are a bunch of college players that actually can't play in the NFL.
Literally look at the Bears. Justin Fields is in his only second year out of college. So is Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert's a dog. I will never diss Khalil Herbert. He's a dog. Darnell Mooney is extremely young. That O-line is trash.
I can never get myself to that. I just can't give myself the fact to be like a college team can play better than a professional team. It could happen, but I just can't. I can't mentally like come to that.
It needs to happen
exhibition
somewhere, some point. That'd be so cool. Last but not least, Chris, I know you have something loaded up for the Detroit Lions, and I'm excited.
So I when I got the Lions, I'm going to be like, oh, another disappointing, awful season. But I started to look a little bit. Dan Campbell, he's been a pretty decent head coach. I know he's funky. He's kind of that different, I give him a kind of a, what do you call it? Like I can't think of the word, but I kind of like what happened? What is the word when it comes to when you like associate someone with like a type of, you know what I'm saying?
I don't.
But it's all good.
Dan Campbell reminds me of that dad going to a flag football game and being the coach and over coaching the team and doing a bunch of crazy things to make the team win. That is what Dan Campbell reminds me of. And you go up to his office and he's going to be drinking a beer and he's going to be like, come in here, son. We're going to talk about how bad you played. The Lions are, I feel like Dan Campbell is that team. And I was doing some research on the stats. Dan Campbell, as you can remember, took off the play calling duties halfway through the season, correct?
Yep.
Jared Goff's numbers doubled, even tripled in passing percentage, yards, touchdowns, touchdown interception ratio. His numbers flourished. They did well at the end of the season, better than they did once Dan Campbell took over the helm. So I'm kind of looking at that and add the weapons of DJ Chark, Amon Ross St. Brown, Jameson Williams, TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, Josh Reynolds. You have pretty decent weapons. Now, if these weapons all play together, and I am still a believer in Jared Goff, and I think Jared Goff is a pretty decent quarterback, I can see them winning 6 or 7 games this year and beating the Minnesota Vikings for that second spot. That is my dark horse. That is, if all the pieces play out right and Dan Campbell does as good as he has been doing. Remember, it's his third season now? Second?
Who?
Second.
Yeah,
second, yes.
Yeah, it's his second season. And when he got hired, did anyone think he was going to get hired?
No.
It was kind of that out of the blue signing. And I think that this is a project where I think it's not a year one project. He's going to come in and fix it. I see a 2, 3, maybe even 5-year project with him. And I think the Detroit Lions, if everything goes right, will be a pretty serviceable team. And if they win 6 or 7 games, they're going to miss the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs. But I see a vision in what he's doing. And I think that if it works out this year, it'll work out pretty big for them this year.
No,
so they are my dark horse team, my unexpected, out of the blue. Hopefully this works, shot in the dark. Let's hope it reels it in.
No, the Detroit Lions had the 2 biggest steals in the draft. Aiden Hutchinson at 2 and Jameson Williams. By far the 2 biggest steals.
Was the best player in the draft.
He is. And Jameson Williams was the best wide receiver in the draft. The only reason he didn't go first is because of his injury in the national championship.
And all we've heard is it's healed and he's ready to go. So if it's scary.
He's going to be a monster.
And I don't think Jared Goff is not an awful quarterback. I don't think.
I agree.
Yeah, he's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback yet, but I don't see him being. We are literally throwing him to the side. I don't think he deserves all that flake for what he's getting. He did pretty good with the Rams.
Jared Goff took the Rams to a Super Bowl. You have to be a valuable, decent quarterback to get your team to a Super Bowl. It does not matter how well you played in that Super Bowl, how well you played all year. You cannot make a Super Bowl without a valuable quarterback.
And I can go on and saying Matt Stafford, I don't think is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Matt Stafford does not have the stats to put him in the Hall of Fame other than a Super Bowl win. Jared Goff is on the same level as him. I think that they just have a different trajectory, but I think Jared Goff can turn this team around.
That part I'm going to disagree with, but
I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl with him, but I think that he can turn this team around to go 6 or 7 wins.
I was talking about Stafford and Goff being on the same level.
They are not. Oh, no. Sorry if I said that. No, they are not on the same level. Matthew Stafford is definitely a better quarterback, but he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I also disagree with that. I think he is. But anyways, his career's not over. His career's not over for Matthew Stafford. We're talking about the current Lions. Aiden Hutchinson's a great ball player, starting to help with that defense. And then on that offense between Goff, Swift, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawk, this team's ready to go. I have the Lions at 6-11. I'm a believer.
Yeah, Chris, your hot take's not that hot. I have them at 7-10. So I think we're all
Okay,
on the
so
same.
I'm glad. Well, I thought I might actually get. Well, like I said, my hot take for that is they're getting second in the division. They will be better than the Minnesota Vikings.
That's a hot take that they get second, but I agree that they're going to be much improved. I think they're going to get 7 wins. That offense is very underrated. I think they're going to take a huge step up. Aiden Hutchinson, best player in the NFL draft. Trayvon Walker is not better. I'm sorry. But yeah, the Lions.
Would have to agree with that. We'll go through Braden's really fast just for him real quick. He had the Packers at 9-8, Vikings at 12-5, Bears at 6-11, and the Lions at 7-10. So
We're all on.
you're not crazy, Chris. I completely agree with you. Honestly, it's a great take.
Okay.
And now I need you to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for me.
I mean, again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not much has changed other than really Rob Gronkowski leaving. I mean, they're still a solid all-around team. I don't think that they are the team again this year. I think they're going to take a digression. Not much. 11-6, 12-5 kind of digression, just kind of one game. They're still a very good team. Like I said, Tom Brady's still a phenomenal quarterback for that team. They will go to the playoffs. They won't go deep. I think seeing Tom Brady win a Super Bowl, I think those days are over. I think we're going to see 1 or 2 more seasons out of Tom Brady, but I think they're just going to be an all-around average team. They had a pretty okay draft per se. I mean, they return a lot of the same weapons that they had last year, and I just see them going about the same, just a little bit worse.
Here's my take. The Buccaneers have a top 5 offense, top 5 defense. Tom Brady's at the helm. Shocked that Chris Godwin stayed, honestly, actually. I have this team first in the NFL at 15-2. They play in the Mickey Mouse Club of a division. They're going to go 6-0 in their division. It's Tom Brady. He's about to retire, and if he wants a bowl, he's going to do it now just because he wants it.
Yeah, agreed. He's definitely reaching the end of his career. You saw that with the whole retirement thing this offseason. And if he wants something more, it's now more than ever. And I agree. I have them at 13-4, second in the NFC, first in the NFC South, and then I think they lose in the Super Bowl to Josh Allen.
Don't forget, Bruce Arians is not at the helm anymore, anybody.
I know. Todd Bowles.
Just remember that. Todd Bowles.
All right, Joe, talk about your Panthers, buddy.
Dude, the Carolina Panthers has been an S show of an organization since the 2015 Super Bowl. Matt Rule has been horrific for us. Scott Fitterer, our new GM, has been a gem. A gem. He's been phenomenal. He's done great. 2 days ago, a man by the name of Baker effing Mayfield got traded to the Carolina Panthers and is going to be the week 1 starter because we would not trade for him when we have Sam Darnold, and I hope he never steps foot on the field for us ever again. It's Baker Mayfield season, baby. Former Heisman. So pumped, so lit, so excited for what he's going to do. Week 1 against the Browns is going to be the most watched game of week 1. It's going to be hype. The Carolina Panthers never get televised, so maybe they'll change that to a primetime game. Biggest thing here, Matt Rule, his seat is on fire. He has the hottest seat in the NFL right now. If he does not make the playoffs this season, he's gone, which is a lot to ask for this team. Biggest question, Christian McCaffrey. He's back. He's currently healthy. How can Baker Mayfield and Christian McCaffrey work with DJ Moore? And here's my hot take. Baker Mayfield, Christian McCaffrey, and DJ Moore, when healthy, is a top 5 combo in the NFL.
It's up
Them
there.
3 between a QB, running back, and wide receiver, top 5.
It's
if
up
they're
there.
all healthy and play well. With all that being said, the Panthers, at best, are going 8-9 and are going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
I can agree with that statement. They are getting better pieces, but they need to be better. They're not a pretty good head coach. So, like I said, 9-8 is a pretty fair judgment for what they'll get.
I'm a lot more hopeful after that. And getting Baker Mayfield for a 5th, possible conditional 4th is a steal.
Yeah. Yeah, you got him. You got him for table scraps.
And we're
I
only paying like $3 million of his contract.
right, right. Before the Baker trade, I had this team at like 5 wins. After the Baker trade, I have them at 9 wins. I think Baker is a huge upgrade at the quarterback position. That's really all you guys needed, to be honest. You're shoring up a lot of your other weapons. Your defense is young and awesome. Um, Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the NFL when healthy. DJ Moore is awesome. Um, I feel like your wide receiver 2 and 3 could be a little bit better,
I agree.
but I think the Panthers as a whole are a pretty good team. I have them at 9-8, barely missing the playoffs. They're the 8th spot in the NFC, 3rd in the NFC South, and no playoffs, as I said.
I'm a lot more excited than I was a few days ago. I'll tell you that much.
I agree, and like you
when-
said, Browns Panthers week 1. I would love if it was bumped to prime time, but it won't be, unfortunately. Not week 1.
No, not week 1, but 100% instead of red zone, I'll be watching that game.
Mhm.
And I haven't done that with the Carolina Panthers consistently in a very long time. So I'm excited. Talk about the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, so I have been hot and cold with this team a lot this offseason. But right now, I think I kind of like them, honestly. I have them at 10-7 this year, so one more win than they did last year. And it has a lot to do with their newcomers. They got Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave. That receiving trio is very underrated. It's going to be one of the top in the league. They drafted Trevor Penning, tackle out of Northern Iowa, also in the first round. And then their safety duo. They got a new safety duo this offseason, Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May. Those two guys are probably top 3 safety duos in the league. Incredible. What they've done on defense is awesome. Their new coach, however, might be a bit of an X factor. Dennis Allen. He's been the Saints defense coordinator since 2015. In his previous head coaching stint, he went 8-28 with the Raiders, so not very good. Let's hope that he learned enough from Sean Payton to have a successful season this time around. Like I said, I think the Saints have one of the best rosters on paper. It's about how Jameis plays, and if he can support that cast of wide receivers. If Michael Thomas can get back on the field and back to his former self, I think they'll have no problem making the playoffs. And that's my take.
You got a record?
All right, so
Oh, I think I said
Yeah.
it before, but it's 10-7.
yeah, he said 10-7, which I agree with. I mean, I don't think Jameis Winston will be the best starting quarterback in the NFC by far, but I think he'll get them to a point where they'll be safe. I think without Sean Payton, it's going to be interesting to see because I don't think no one here knows what a year without Sean Payton will be like. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But I think, with the weapons that they have, a 10-7 season is perfectly capable for them.
Yeah, the Sean Payton thing scares me. As you guys all know, I've never been a believer in Jameis Winston. So unless Drew Brees comes back for the New Orleans Saints, they're going to miss the playoffs. I actually have them at 6-11, and Jameis Winston throws 25 plus interceptions.
He was so good last year before he got injured.
He was good week 1.
He was good.
Week two, he threw 4 picks to the Panthers.
Didn't he have a decent amount of wins though before he got injured?
I'm
pretty sure they were. I think they were above 500.
That they could have been, but I don't know. Last one for the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons went somehow 7-10 last season. Matty Ice did transfer to Indy, like the college portal, transfer. This team's not going to be good. They did add some good pieces, however. Marcus Mariota is going to be the signal caller for them. They did add Damian Williams. They did draft Desmond Ridder. They drafted Drake London.
Tyler
Great.
Algier.
Yeah, sorry, Tyler Algier. Great little. They're in the right direction. They're in the right direction for the Atlanta Falcons. Marcus Mariota threw the ball 20 times total last year. that's a bit of a mark to me. But he can pass the ball to himself. We have seen that. So you never know what could happen in Atlanta. I expect another not too great year for the Falcons. That defense, again, still not good. In the right direction, though, with his offense, and Desmond Ridder could be a future franchise quarterback for this team. Right now, though, I have them at 4-13.
Yeah, pretty similar to you. I don't think they're going to be very good, especially without Matt Ryan. I think he was trying to carry a really bad team last year, and that's why he looked so bad. But I have them at 2-15, 14th in the NFC, last in the NFC South.
5-12, just kind of definitely a rebuild year to come for them.
Yeah, for sure.
For Braden's, he had the Buccaneers at 13-4, the Panthers at 6-11. I don't like that. The Saints at 9-8, and the Falcons at 3-14. So we're basically all on the same page there. Next up is the Los Angeles Rams. I believe that's mine. They were 12-5. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. Won Super Bowl 56 last year. Congratulations to them. Biggest addition here, Allen Robinson for this squad. Big fan of adding him to the Cooper Kupp duo. Obviously, no Robert Woods since he was traded off to Tennessee. Hot seat market. Sean McVay is guaranteed for life as this head coach as long as he wants it. It is his. He's not going anywhere. And the real question here in the in-depth analysis I have is simple. Can Matt Stafford repeat that fantastic year? I believe he can. 14-3.
Yeah, same.
I love the.
Sorry.
Oh, go Brent.
I had the same exact record, 14-3. I think they're gonna be first in the NFC, first in the NFC West. I think they lose in the NFC Conference Championship to the Bucs, as I said before. But yeah, I mean, I love the addition of Allen Robinson, and then also Bobby Wagner too. Like, we forget about that. Like,
How did I forget that one?
That's
Oh
crazy.
my! I literally did it all this morning and didn't even see that. That's ridiculous. That's on me.
Two former. I don't know if Allen Robinson was ever an All-Pro, but he was definitely Pro Bowl level.
I agree.
Bobby Wagner is a former All-Pro. That team scares
like
me.
7 times All-Pro.
Yeah, that team is so scary, dude. It's
defense is disgusting.
Yeah,
as usual. Aaron
They're gonna
Donald's
do.
okay.
They're gonna have a great year. They're gonna go 13-4. They're gonna have a phenomenal year. I'm not doubting them. I just don't believe that they will go back to back. It is very hard for a team to go back to back. We don't see it often. Even with the dynasties in the 70s and 80s, they rarely went back to back just because the magnitude it is to go back to back, I mean, is very hard, and you always lose key pieces every year. So I see them going to the NFC Championship game, but losing. I think they're a great team. I think Sean McVay will be an NFL coach for at most another 3 years. I think he will retire early and take a role in television. This team's going to be great. This team is going to dominate, but they won't go back to back.
Those are all very fair takes. Brent, talk about the Niners.
Yeah, I'm not really that high on the Niners this year, which is surprising because I was a Trey Lance guy, but after last season, watching him in a few games, I don't really like him that much from what I saw. Last year's record, you can see it on the screen, 10-7. They did add a few pieces, not very great ones. Their most notable is Charvarius Ward, the cornerback out of Kansas City. But I believe Mike McDaniel is a huge reason why the 49ers rushing attack was so great last year with Debo and with Elijah Mitchell. But I don't think Debo is going to continue that success, whether it's due to injury or Trey Lance cannot sustain him in the offense. And the defense will still be pretty solid, but it won't be enough to make the playoffs, in my opinion. I have their record right now is 6-11. For them to actually win the division, Kyle Shanahan needs to prove that he is the best offensive mind in the NFL, and Trey Lance needs to be one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. I hope he proves me wrong because I love his rushing upside.
Yeah.
I give this team an ultimatum. for sure. This is going to be maybe hurtful to some people, but Jimmy G gives them the best shot at winning. If they start Jimmy G and he starts the whole season, they will go 11-6. If they start Trey Lance, they will go 7-10 or 6-11. I think Jimmy G is the better quarterback out of the two. He has been through it all. He's the more experienced quarterback. He's got the right pieces that he can to win games. And I don't think Trey Lance is there. Like, again, look at his past. He came from FCS play. Not really a lot of challenges. This is a whole different ball game. Bigger steps than what these SEC guys are taking to play in the NFL. And it's harder for guys to succeed from coming from these smaller schools. I just don't see him doing it this year. I think he needs more time to develop to have a shot at playing. And if they don't start Jimmy G, I think it'll hurt the 49ers record and they will miss the playoffs if they don't start him.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Chris. I do believe Jimmy Garoppolo gives them the best win now sort of aspect of what they're looking for the 49ers. I know Jimmy G is going to be out soon. I know Debo still wants to be out. This organization could have a very, very quick turn from losing in the conference championship to not making the playoffs at all. I do believe they don't make it at all, actually. They do go 9-8 for me at best. But I agree with you. I do think Jimmy G should be starter week 1 if they don't ship him out. And obviously Debo doesn't want to play running back, so
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's a very difficult situation for Shanahan and the 49ers organization right now. And it's not something I'd want to be a part of.
Which is weird because he was good in those rushing schemes. Like he honestly was a better running back, I think, than Elijah Mitchell.
I honestly would agree with that.
Yeah. So anyway,
I would 100% agree with that. We'll move on to the Arizona Cardinals. This team is always weird to me. I literally forget they're a team in the NFL, probably because their quarterback's so small. Arizona Cardinals last year won 11-6. They got mopped in the wild card to the Rams. They did add Hollywood Brown in the draft, so they didn't get a first-round pick out of that. They did not change a lot. They got Trey McBride at tight end. They got Lectia Smith, who's playing center for them. Other than that, there's not really much that changed for this team. Rondale Moore is still there. J.J. Watt's still there. Zach Ertz, I guess, is technically new since he came in the middle of last season. But there's not much that's changed here. But at the same time, Kyler Murray's a great quarterback. James Conner took a giant leap last year. I have the Cardinals going at 10-7 and actually taking 5th in the NFC.
Yeah, pretty similar to you. I have them also in 5th in the NFC. I have them at 12-5, 2nd in the NFC West. I love Kyler Murray. I love the addition of Marquise Brown, especially since DeAndre Hopkins is going to be suspended to start the year. I think he'll get a lot of targets in the offense, and I think they're going to be just as good as last year.
I most certainly agree with what you guys said. There's not really much more to add. I have them going 11-6, so basically splitting you guys. I think they'll just kind of be there again this year. They will get to the playoffs, but I don't see them going far. I think losing the wild card game again will be suitable for them.
Chris, take us home with the Seattle Seahawks, home of the 12th man.
Well, they're going to need all that 12th man this year. Kind of abysmal past few months for them. I don't really see anything going well. We have the whole DK Metcalf kind of, issues now where he is not showing up. He wants to get paid. And they should pay him. But the organization doesn't want to pay him. They want to wait another year to see how he does. They're having a amazing quarterback battle between the Geno Smith and Drew Lock, which hopefully Drew Lock will win that battle because he gives them the best shot at winning a whole 6 games. The Seahawks will definitely regress. They will definitely miss the playoffs this year. If they make the playoffs, that'll be shocking. Let's just pray that somehow, some way, they can find a better quarterback in the next few years. Because they weren't awful last year. They weren't good, but they weren't awful. And 3 years ago, they were pretty good. So they need to make better choices, but I see them going 6-11.
You get rid of Russell Wilson. You get rid of Bobby Wagner. Chris Carson will probably never play another snap in his life after last season. This team is bad. This team is bad. This team is. Did I mention they were bad? I have them at 3-14. I have no belief in this roster. It's going to be a tough season, and Pete Carroll's out of there.
Retired or fired?
Retired, but was threatened to be fired.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. He's the oldest coach in the NFL. I'm pretty similar to you guys. They're my second worst team in the NFL this year. I have them going 1-16. Yeah. The Legion of Boom has turned into the Legion of Doom. They're awful.
You got to put that on a shirt.
And I feel bad for DK and Tyler Lockett because they're great wide receivers, one of the better duos in the league. But Drew Lock or Geno Smith isn't going to be able to keep them that relevant as they were with Russ. So yeah, they're just not going to be that good this year.
And believe it or not, boys, that's everybody in the NFL.
Oh god,
2 hours and 15 minutes.
That's a new record. I don't think we've ever touched the 2-hour mark. That's exciting. That's good stuff, boys.
I still have 8. I have 8 more minutes till I touch.
You guys want to talk about the USFL?
I'm good, man. They had a great year. See you later. Sayonara. Sign off, baby.
Yeah, thanks everybody for sticking with us here for the NFL Frenzy. It was definitely a frenzy. I always love doing these, and I understand the length of the NFL one and specifically, but it's always great at the end of the season to go back and hear our takes and all that so we can roast each other. It's always phenomenal, as you saw with the 5-12 Texans spiel last year. So thanks for hanging out with us today. Thank you, StreamYard, for allowing us to stream on your platform. Thank you, YouTube, for letting us stream this stream on your platform. And again, I'm Joe Wagner, along with Brent and Chris. Braden was here earlier. Braden left early. Chris came in late. I don't know. We're just losing people left and right, but it's all good. You boys got anything you want to say before we log off?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to you, Carson, for giving some really bad takes today. Really made it go by a little faster. When the Broncos become an abomination of a team, you know where to send me $20. So thank you.
Here comes another bet from Chris that we're going to have to hear about for the next 7 months.
I'm done betting after I won my glorious battle with Brent last year.
Brent,
you want to bet on another?
Maybe something. Carson said he will bet that. I don't know
what are we betting?
I don't know what you're betting on though.
If you're betting, you need to make the bet now.
Well, I think the bet stood that the Broncos are going to miss the playoffs and that they're not going to be as good as everyone thinks they're going to be. That was my bet.
So if the Broncos make the playoffs, you owe $20 to Carson.
Yeah.
And if the Broncos make Carson owes $20 to you. I think that's fair.
Yeah, and you're the mediator, so you'll take the money.
Okay.
On the screen, I need acceptance from the comments before we go anywhere.
He said deal.
We have a deal. Now we're betting with our subscribers. What are we doing?
Man, I just need some money, dog. I'm broke.
Well, there's the bet for the season. Broncos missing the playoffs. 20 to Chris if they miss. 20 to Carson if they hit. Chris, you better start getting some bills out. I'm gonna be honest.
You could pay him in ones.
That's all I got. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and log off. We've been on here way longer than I expected, a whole 135 minutes basically. But thanks for hanging out with us here on the Sports Outlet Show today. We appreciate all of you guys. Send love to the family. Happy late Independence Day, 4th of July, and happy summer. And enjoy the rest of your summer till we see you again. Joe Wagner, Brent Allegra, Chris Naylor, no Braden Wilkins, but we're logging off here at the Sports Outlet Show. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks and peace out.